Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for Woodworking for Birds. I'm happy to introduce Missouri Master Naturalist Chris Egbert. Just so you all know, if you would go ahead and put any questions that you have either in the Whova Q&A or chat, or I believe depending on your device, you can actually access the Zoom chat as well. So we'll wait for questions till the end. But please put them in as you think of them. And Chris, you are on, sir.
All right, well, thank you. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Chris Egbert, and I'd like to welcome you to my humble workshop in Columbia, Missouri. And what we're going to be discussing today is how to put together a bluebird box. And one of the things I like to do is put a little plug in for Steve and Regina Garr at Bird's Eye View. I don't know whether you see that or not. Bird's Eye View in Jefferson City, Missouri. On the website where you signed up, if you go to this section, you will find these diagrams. And one of those is what I'm going to be discussing today is the plans on how to build a bluebird box. And these plans from Steve and Regina, we've been using them for years. They work great. So if you get a chance to get up to Jeff City, Missouri, stop in. I'm sure they'd be more than glad to talk to you about bluebird boxes. Well, first off, this is what we're going to be talking about today, if I can get it lined up here. And this is a standard. Pardon me while I figure out how this works on my screen.
It looks good, Chris. We can see it.
What's that? You can see it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we'll first talk about some tools required to make one of these. And the first thing you would need is you need a standard carpenter square. You will also need a Phillips head screwdriver. Now this is kind of old school stuff. Now if you've got a electric drill with a Phillips head bit in it, that would work great too. But you can do this with old school equipment. And when talking about old school equipment, this is about as old school as it gets. But you can cut this wood and put this box together with a plain old handsaw. But most people use table saws, they use the electric saws, those kind of things. The other thing you will need is you'll need a set of bits. You will need a drill. You will also need a 3/8 inch drill bit. I'll talk a little bit about what this is for in just a second. You will need a hole saw. This is a device that you put on your drill, and it drills a hole exactly 1 1/2 inches diameter. So you'll need this, and obviously you'll need a tape measure. So let's talk a little bit about the equipment that you're going to be needing. The first thing is you're going to need a hole flange. Now, this hole flange is right here, okay? And it's held together with 4 screws that's got a little bit of a collar on them. And it's exactly 1 1/2 inches, same size. Now, where can you get these? Well, you can go online, and I just checked the other day, and for $2.65, you can go to Amazon, and they will send you one. If you don't go that way, this particular flange that you see right here, I cut it out of this piece of sheet metal. So cut the square size I needed. I took my trusty hole saw, which is also, you can also cut metal with this one, and I took it, put it on the sheet metal, cut out the hole, fixed a hole to the box. If you don't have any sheet metal, go out and get yourself the bottom of a soup can. Cut it out, take your trusty hole saw, drill you a hole 1.5 inches in this, and you can use this. But in any case, you need to have some type of flange around that hole to keep animals from getting in there, from digging around, making a hole bigger. Woodpeckers, all kinds of other birds will try to get in there. With that flange on there, it'll help keep that from happening. The other thing you'll need is some 1/4 inch 60. These are 1/4 inch screws. You'll need 16 of those. You'll need a couple of 2-inch long finishing nails, and these are going to be used to make your hinge with. And you need 1 galvanized nail. Now this nail is actually your door lock, and I'll show you how that works. And you will need some screen wire, plain old screen wire that you get at Lowe's or Home Depot, but you need a piece of screen wire. Now let's talk a little bit about the construction of this box. The first thing that's important is the top of it. You need to have an overhang that goes out a long ways over the front of this, and you could make it wider if you chose to, but minimally you need to have it go out make it as far out as you want. The next thing is the box needs to be well ventilated. And so what I've done is I've taken that 3/8 inch drill bit, and I drilled some holes right across the top, right underneath the overhang on both sides. Now the plans don't call for this, but what I've found is the more ventilation you can get in there, the better, because you want it to kind of stay cool in the summer and warm in the winter. And the other thing that where you get some ventilation is when you cut the sides and you put the top on, there's a gap. You can kind of see it right here. There's a gap right there, and that should be probably about 1/4 inch high, and it will also allow ventilation. And the box needs to have some good drainage. So on the bottom of the box, you'll see the floor has got 4 corners cut out in it. Now the piece that comes from is this piece right here. It is it's just a square, and you cut the corners off of it, and it will allow a little bit of ventilation, but it's mainly designed to take care of drainage. The hole again has got to be 1 1/2 inches, and then it needs this flange. Now this particular box has a side door on it. A lot of bird boxes you'll see, they'll have the hinge in the back and the lid will come up, and then you got to reach down in there and you got to pull out stuff. But this is designed to be a little simpler than that. And what it is, it has a side door on it that comes down. And if you can take a look at that, and that way you can get inside of the box and get stuff out, and it's a whole lot easier than trying to reach down through. Now this is where those finishing nails come in, because they are placed right here on both sides of the door. I guess it's down here, and that's what makes the hinge work. And the hinge only goes down to where it butts up with the floor, so you don't have to, it'll never fall down any farther than that. And you'll notice inside right here right below the hole, is where that screen wire goes. You put a little sheet of that screen wire in there so that the birds can, when they're getting ready to get fed, they got something to hang on to get up to the hole where they can stick their heads out and get whatever their parents have brought to them. Now, when you close the box up, the this is where your lock comes in. And you'll see a little dot right here, right there, and this dot is cut at an angle. I drilled a hole at an angle from right up here. Let me get over here. Right from here down into here. So what you do is you take your galvanized nail and you put it right in here, and it makes a lock. Now the box cannot come open because the nail's there, and it's real easy for you to take the nail out, open up the box, get into it, do whatever you got to do. Now, a key to this little forewarning on this nail, these galvanized nails are generally pretty long, and what you don't want to do is only drill a little ways down in there and leave this nail this far out, because what this ends up doing is turning into a perch, and other birds and predator birds and things like that will sit on that perch and get the little birds as they're hoping to get something to eat. So just make sure that you, number one, drill that hole deep enough, or in my case, I just cut the nail off, and then it slides right in, and you've got just enough handle there to get a hold of. Now, one of the things I found that's very helpful when you are building these, there's no adage about measure twice, cut once. Well, I don't know how many times that saved my bacon, but what I do is also I measure twice, cut once, and then what I've got for each one of these pieces of wood, I've got a template. So, and it tells me it's a bluebird box. The thing is 12 by 11, and this is the right side because of the angle, and then here is the left side. We've got one for the floor. Tells me that that's 4.5 by 5.5 inches. So when I lay out my getting ready to lay out my board to cut it, I can measure it, use my T-square, mark it, and then I take this and I put it down on top of the piece of wood to make sure that it's the right size. Now, same thing holds true with the front of the box. What I've got is I got a template that once the wood is cut out, that I can put the template over the top of it, take a little punch right there in the center of that hole, and that'll exactly give me where that hole is to be cut. And then I take my hole saw, put that in there, and I cut my hole. The same thing holds true down here with the floor and the hinge. It will tell you where to line up your floor on the front and on one of the sides, and then it'll also tell you where to mark to put your hinge in. So these little templates are just as important almost as anything that you'll have. Let's talk about this piece of lumber for a second. What this box is made out of is cedar, and it's probably the standard type of material that you use for it. It lasts a long time, and what you need is a 1 by 12 by 6, 12 inches wide, 1 inch thick, 6 foot long. And out of that piece of lumber, once you lay your templates out and you do your measurements and stuff like that, you can get 2 bluebird boxes out of one 6 foot long piece of lumber. Now you can also make it out of pine if you chose to. Um, Now pine, if you use that, you need to put some kind of a preservative on the outside of it because it's not as resistant to rain and weather and snow and stuff like that as cedar is. So you'll need to, but the keynote there is don't put any kind of preservative or anything on the inside of the box because a lot of those have chemicals in them and they're not good for the birds. So anyway, that will take care of the piece of lumber that you have, and I think as far as what you need and the material you need and how to build it, I'll turn this back over to the moderator.
Thank you so much, Chris. I just learned a bunch, and we have bluebird boxes, but I didn't build them. We had a couple people ask specifically if this would be available to watch again later. And so for folks that are on here, yes, you'll be able to review this because I think if you weren't necessarily making a list of equipment at the time, you'll want to check it out again. I do want to point folks to the plans that Chris showed us at the beginning. So when you're in your Whova app in the festival, if you just go to documents, and that's going to be on the left-hand side of your screen if you're on a computer, and it'll be on a button if you're on your phone or a tablet. So Chris has put those Bluebird plans in there, and they're just in documents, and they just say Bluebird box plans. And so you'll be able to access them and then be able to use the equipment that he has talked about today. So let's see here. We don't have a question, Chris, but we have a message from Carolyn that says, great talk, thanks.
Cool.
Let's see.
Thank you very much. The other thing that I got a second here is not only can you make bluebird boxes, but this is the Birds and Bee Festival. So this is a bee box that I put together, and there's plans online. You can get these, and they're very simple to build. You don't have to have anything but except for some lumber. But you put your little tubes in here, and then the bees come out, and it's spring when it's time for them to come out. So anyway, you can also make bee boxes.
So Chris, we did have a question about the templates, and I think that you and I both kind of already answered that. But again, the Bluebird box plan specifically, Chris has put in the document section of both this talk, and it's just in the documents button. But I believe, Chris, in terms of like the bee house that you just mentioned and other kinds of birdhouses, do you have a recommendation for where online is the best resource?
Well, I tell you, I would, if I had some real questions about that, would be Steve and Regina Garr at the Bird's Eye View in Jeff City. That would be one person you could call on that. What I do when I'm looking for a box, because we've made bee boxes, bird boxes, our Boone's Lick chapter has made butterfly boxes, bat houses, and all of those plans, I pull those right off of the internet because there's just literally hundreds and thousands of them out there. So find one that you think that you can use and just use some of those plans there, or call Bird's Eye View.
Chris, I'll mention too that Steve and Regina are actually, well, they're giving a couple presentations, one at 1 p.m. here just in 40 minutes about Orioles, but they're doing one on Saturday morning in this same format on our festival. Saturday morning at 9, they're talking about how to make a house a home for birds. So that's another good resource for folks that are interested in building some good birdhouses.
Absolutely. I mean, those question like you just posed would be a good one to ask them because they're certainly the local experts on that.
It sounds like you've built a few boxes too, though.
Yeah, our chapter at one point we built 40 bluebird boxes, 20 bee boxes, almost 50 um, bat houses, and I got a little committee, a little that I call on, and these guys are kind of, and gals as far as that goes, are kind of learned in the how to use tools because I like to have people come over to my shop. We build them, and everybody walks out with 10 fingers and 10 toes. So, but these folks they know what they're doing, and we've gotten fairly fast at it. But we've made hundreds of them.
Very good. Carolyn in the chat says that her bee box that you made is still in very good shape. So she made that comment.
Good.
I think that's all the questions we have here, Chris. So we will let you go, but thank you very, very much. That was very informative.
Yeah, it'd be fine if you wanted to hold this festival. Dana, you can hold over in Columbia because we need revenue.
Maybe we'll have to start a second one then because we need ours in Arrow Rock too.
Okay. All right. Well, it was certainly nice being with you folks today, and enjoy the rest of your festival.
Thanks a bunch, Chris. Talk to you soon.